Welcome back to Harbor Discussions, everybody. Today, I'm here with my father's going to be a co-host on this one. If you've ever seen any of the extra content that used to be on the channel, you know him from like cigar discussions and some of the NFL stuff that we used to post. And I'm here as with the guest, Troy. How do you pronounce your last name?
Baacke.
Baacke.
Yes.
What kind of name is that?
German.
German. Okay. So I'm here with him. We met because he works at our local Davidus cigar store. So if you're not buying your cigars at Davidus, you need to be buying them there because really they're the best supplier in the area.
Absolutely.
We're not even really saying that in a biased way. I mean, mostly it's like Davidus stores and then like vape stores. You know what I mean? And there's probably some out there, I guess, that do care about their cigars, but I mean, in reality, it's like that is probably not their main focus.
No, we are the premium cigar place in this area for sure.
You got real cigar aficionados that work there, you know. I feel like you got the people at the vape store might smoke cigars, but how many of them are like so passionate about cigars, you know?
Yeah, I think they know a lot more about the vape than they do the cigars.
Definitely. So I kind of wanted to talk about your early childhood. Like I said, where were you born and raised?
Outside of Pittsburgh, PA.
Okay.
Yep. So I was in Pittsburgh up until the time I was 15. I lived outside of Pittsburgh with my family until my around seventh birthday. My parents divorced.
Okay.
Yeah, it was growing up sucked. It was a hard life growing up.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of abuse in my family, substance abuse, physical, sexual abuse.
You said they broke up at 7, they divorced?
Yeah, my parents divorced at 7, and then I kind of hopped around from place to place for quite a few years till I landed at my great aunt and uncle's house. I lived there with my father for about 5 years.
Still in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, a little town called Irwin, PA.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty much a lifesaver for me.
Okay.
They were cool, just down to earth, loving people, and I think if it wasn't for them at that time in my life, things would have gone much differently for me.
No doubt.
Yeah, because I chose to go with my father instead of staying with my mother. So my mother was a pretty bad alcoholic, and it runs in our family for sure.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So what age did you get into the house with? You said it was your uncle, right?
Yeah, my great aunt and uncle. So I stayed with them until I was about 12, and then my dad remarried.
Okay.
And then things really went south after that. Yeah, things got bad. I rebelled about my dad getting remarried and all that. Yeah.
I kind of have a note about, I guess, what might be this time period. I just remember at some point in the cigar lounge, because for those wondering, like, I would just, see Troy at the cigar lounge. He's fairly new as an employee there, so I'd be buying cigars or just smoking a cigar there with my dad, and we would just engage in conversation, and he would drop these little facts about his life, and I just kind of kept mental notes about him. One of them was, you said, like, you would leave for, like, weeks at a time, stuff like that. You, quote, unquote, used to be, like, a bad kid, or in other words, would rebel and stuff like that. So is this those days that you were kind of talking about?
Yeah, I was definitely the black sheep of the family, so to speak. I stole cars. I ran away from home. I drank alcohol, smoked weed, did all that at a young age, 13, 14.
Was it joyriding?
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yep.
And where was all this taking place?
Same outside of Pittsburgh.
I gotcha.
Until I was, it got really bad when, so I was 15. That was when the punk scene was really coming in.
Okay. I have a little note about that as well.
Yeah, I got into that for a while, the whole mohawk and eyeliner and earrings and
was it a local punk scene?
Yeah, it was really just when punk was really getting in, like I want to say like Black Flag, Dead Kennedys,
Sex Pistols
Sex
kind
Pistols,
of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we called it slam dancing, I guess.
Yes.
Is what we called it.
Right.
They call it moshing, but
Right.
that was all the rave back then. It was, everybody beating up on each other, just having fun, but
Yeah.
it was.
I remember engaging in that myself. Now, did you have any other siblings at that time that were around your age
Yeah,
that
so
you were engaging in some of this fun stuff with?
yeah, so my I had two brothers at the time. I had an older brother, Tim. He was 3 years older than me, and then I had an older brother, Todd, who was 3 years older than he, so he was 6 years older. But Tim was my like good friend. We like got in trouble together all the time. He was the one that led the way. You
Gotcha.
know, not to blame anybody else for my behavior, but
Yeah,
you know, he was definitely my role model, and not
yeah.
a good one at that. But
Partner in crime kind of deal. I was
yeah.
just about to ask if you had like a, a certain friend group or
Hmm.
something at that time that was, I guess, in one way or another influencing your behavior. Everybody, has responsibility at some point. Like everybody
Right.
does things because they want to at that
Right.
time. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, but in one way or another, you're still influenced by the people that
Right.
you're around and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think I ever would have smoked pot at 12 years old if it wasn't for my brother. So stuff like that.
Yeah.
He would
So,
introduce me to
do
it
you
at a young
think now
age.
that was too young?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna
Uh,
ask, like, as a general question, when it comes to smoking weed, if you think, like, there's a certain age that's right or wrong, because certain environments will kind of dictate when you do it. You know what
right,
I mean?
right.
Certain upbringings, things like that.
Yeah, I think in early childhood and even in early high school years, your brain's still developing, and um, I think it can have definitely a negative impact on a large population of people. Makes them
Yeah.
lazy, or that's all they end up wanting to do. But then there's another population, just like with alcoholics. They're high functioning. They can drink alcohol and go to work and function just fine. And you have
Yeah.
people that smoke pot that are the same way. I mean, I know when I was in college, I smoked on a regular basis, and I was Dean's List 3.8 GPA. So,
Right.
I mean,
For
for
a lot
the
of people, I think it has an opposite effect where it helps you deal with people,
yeah,
right?
Definitely. Yeah.
I know. See, I have a substance abuse issue, shall we say? But and then for me, that was the same thing, and especially around that time, I found that it helped me fit in better,
oh
right?
yeah,
And I think for a lot of people, I know that are in recovery, you hear that same thing, that they felt that it helped them fit in to society and things like that better, and that comes with exactly what you were saying, where they they were able to achieve their goals, better versus other people or the normal individual or whatever. Some people would just use it as the party tool or
right,
whatever. It affects them differently.
yeah, absolutely,
Where they get high off of it in a different manner. And alcohol has that different effect on them, where it makes them off.
He actually
yeah,
has a point to
Act
that.
act crazier.
yeah, yeah. You don't hear of
They
many.
get that party thing going.
There's a
Makes
point.
them want to get that woo
Yeah,
I've seen a
thing instead of the
absolutely,
calm effect. That
100%
some
agree.
people get.
Yeah, I've seen a video where it was describing like a lot of people. I can't remember if it was like indigenous people or not, but some people just have a gene where drinking, like, I don't know if it's your dopamine receptors or whatnot, but it basically just like fires off something totally different, and it
Yeah,
makes alcohol like a
in your
totally
brain.
different thing.
Well, I know the
Yeah,
Native Americans are for this is a fact that they have a different thing going on in their brain where alcohol affects them differently.
yes.
That's why a majority of them who drink um, become alcoholic.
So there's a
Yeah.
there's a substance that addicts and non-addicts they differentiate that we produce that non-addicts, and it's called THIQ. It's
Yes,
tetrahydroisoquinone.
thick. Yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it's what our body produces that people that aren't addicts or alcoholics they don't produce it.
Right.
So, yeah, I just tell people I'm allergic to alcohol. I break out in handcuffs whenever I drink.
Yeah.
It's best I don't. I can point back to a lot of my problems stemmed from definitely from more so from alcohol than
Right.
than marijuana use. I would say
Yeah.
you don't hear many marijuana related incidents.
Yeah, I said
Yeah.
that
You
before
just
on the
don't.
podcast. I was
A
like,
guy does 12 bong hits and he goes to sleep, but he drinks 12 beers and he might get violent. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
well,
There's
I was talking at one
difference.
point about the gun laws in Maryland when it comes to like if you have a medical marijuana card, you
You can't own
can't.
a gun.
Right. It's I think it's just like you can't have like a carry permit or like a handgun. So like I think you can still buy the long.
No, you can't own any firearm at all, not even a muzzle loader.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So like what's crazy is I was telling on the podcast, I was like, if you are really pissed off at your neighbor, like your neighbor just did whatever, wrecked your car, something, stole your car, and you go and you sit about it and you think at home and you drink like a bottle of bourbon, you're going to go over and you're going to kill that guy.
Right, right.
But if you sit down and smoke like an eighth of weed, you're going to be like, man, insurance will buy me a better
Right.
car,
Yep.
It's a loose example.
No, but it's very accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think alcohol disinhibits you a lot more than marijuana does.
Yeah.
But I still think early on, like 13 was still too young to start out.
Did it become a habit at that point, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it developed pretty quickly. I was trying, once I started it, I wanted to get it as regularly as I could.
Yeah, which
I bought my first quarter pound when I was a freshman in high school. So I was very creative on the ways I was able to get what I needed.
I gotcha. Now, did you go to like public school the whole time?
No, well, yeah, I did go to public school up until the point where when I was 15, I was arrested for the last time, and they basically made me a ward of the state. They took custody, the state did, of me.
I gotcha.
My dad lost custody of me. He ended up moving to Virginia with his new wife and their new son. So I went to this group home up in the mountains of Pennsylvania, and we got to go to public school there.
Okay.
But they would stick us in a van and drive us there, so everybody knew we were like outcasts.
I gotcha.
And
Did they put you all in one class, or was it?
No,
Okay.
we were able to go to separate classes.
I gotcha. So.
But I remember we were able to do VOTEC training too if we wanted, and so you could go to VOTEC was a week at a time. So you go 1 week VOTEC, 1 week regular class, and you alternated. And man, I'm stuck there with 14 dudes in a group home, and I was like, "Where are the chicks, man?" And cosmetology, man.
Yeah.
So I took cosmetology. It was the best thing and the dumbest thing I ever did at the same time.
Yeah, you mentioned that at one point too,
Yeah.
because I think I was just mentioning like getting a facial over at the spa and whatnot. We were just on the topic of like, there's some dudes out there that are too macho for that shit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And it was funny because you were like, yeah, I took a cosmetology class. I was around more girls than ever.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I got hazed every day for that too. I mean, bunch of rednecks up in Pennsylvania in the mountains, and here I was, this city kid. And
as soon as you get to class, you're like, you forget about all that.
oh yeah, I was like, they're giving me manicures, facials,
Oh,
cutting
that's awesome.
hair.
Yeah.
But I actually got really good at it. I won a couple state competitions.
Oh shit. Okay.
So yeah, I really got into it.
Okay.
I wanted to finish it, but my dad, when I moved back home to Virginia after I finished my time there, he was not supportive of me taking cosmetology at all.
Ah.
So that's when I ended up joining the Army when I was still a junior in high school when I enlisted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were gonna talk about that too. So like, it was for that reason that you joined the Army, or was it just kind of like you wanted to get away?
Yeah, I wanted to get away, and when I moved back to Virginia, I had gotten in some trouble. One more time, I got in trouble again, joyriding a friend's car.
Gotcha.
Didn't steal it really, but anyhow, it ended up being a big mess. But the judge, he gave me a year probation, and he said when you come back for probation review, he said I suggest you either be enlisted in the military or enrolled in college.
Ah.
So at 17, I enlisted.
Gotcha.
In the Army. Yeah, I was still a junior in high school.
It's kind of crazy that he said that in a way. I guess he meant in the future, but like
He really meant it. You know what I mean? He was
Yeah.
like, basically, get your shit together, man, because I'm gonna put you
the
in jail.
equivalent of like, don't let me see you in here again.
Right.
So before kind of talking about the military and stuff, I remember you mentioned having a newspaper job, right, where you would deliver newspapers and stuff.
Oh yeah. So I did that in college.
Was this before or after the military?
This was after the military.
Okay,
yeah,
so we can talk about the military first, I guess. So you joined the army, you said, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How many years were you in the
5
army?
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that one deployment then?
Yeah, I did. I was in Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
Okay.
Yep. I was the first unit on the ground, actually.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We got the call. We were wheels. I was in the 82nd Airborne. We were wheels up in 18 hours. We were heading out.
That's good. Now, to get into the airborne, I want to talk about that for a minute.
Sure.
That's voluntary.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
it's
so in
strictly
basic they
voluntary.
ask for volunteers to get
So,
into that.
well, yeah, they can do that, but actually, I had it written into my contract.
Oh, sweet.
I wanted to be airborne.
I gotcha.
Even though I hated heights, I was
Right.
terrified of heights. I just wanted to be airborne. So I made sure it was in my agreement that they sent me to the training for it.
Did you know anyone prior to that was in there that led you to that
No.
decision? Or was it just like knowing it was really tough and
Yeah, I knew
really elite?
Yeah, I knew it was definitely a notch up from a regular Army
Right.
soldier.
Oh yeah,
Gotcha.
definitely.
You know,
Yeah, we hear about anyone here's airborne and it's like,
Right,
wow.
right. I mean, I really wanted to be a ranger just because my older brother Tim, he really wanted to be an Army Ranger, but that didn't work out at all.
Shout out
My
to my
son's a
older.
ranger.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Oh,
shout out to
really?
my older
Yeah.
brother Matt.
Okay. Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Matt's
Rangers lead
a
the way,
ranger.
man.
Yeah.
That's when I finished airborne school, I didn't have an airborne instructor pin on. They give you blood wings, where they
Right,
put them in your
yes.
skin. I actually sought out an Army Ranger and had him do it for me.
Oh, how cool. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted a Ranger to do it, not,
Oh, that's
not
nice.
an airborne sergeant. Yeah,
That's respect right there,
absolutely,
man.
Yep.
That's really cool.
So like, what kind of jobs? What were you doing in the army?
So my primary training was in behavioral sciences. I worked in mental health.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw patients for a variety of things, suicidal ideation,
Right.
adjustment disorders, guys having a hard time, getting used to the military and the lifestyle and whatnot. And,
Did you see any issues with that system at the time?
oh yeah, so for us, especially being in a leader, more elite unit like the 82nd, we weren't popular guys for sure. Out of all the Army, there was only 6 of us that were enlisted that did what we did out of the entire Army. So it was a pretty specialized job that we had, but we were not, highly looked upon because mental health was just not something that was really talked about back then.
I don't
Right.
think it's really accepted a whole lot yet, even to this day.
Yeah, it's looked
For
at
people
as,
that are enlisted, and I'm talking about people that are in the army.
yeah.
Well,
More so now when you're getting out of the army. I
Yeah.
think it's a little more acceptable.
Definitely when you're out, when you're in, it's a sign of weakness.
Yes.
Is how they look at it.
Yes.
I was gonna say it's like when you have people that you're trying to have do a job, and you also have them considering their mental health. Sometimes they're not gonna be able to do the job then if they're
Right.
considering that. So
Especially in elite forces like that. Now, I'm talking from experience myself because I was in the Air Force, and I have I was in the medical field as well.
Oh, you were? I didn't know. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you for your service. I didn't know that
Yeah.
you were served.
Yeah, so I was in the Air Force, and we did deployment stuff as well. And I worked with a lot of. I worked at Lackland Air Force Base.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So we were in charge of helping process all the people for deployment, and we got into a lot of the multi. I guess different. All the services were part of that processing to go fly out of Lackland. They
Right.
actually flew out of Kelly. Because Lackland doesn't have any planes there, but right next door is Kelly Air Force Base where they flew out of, but they processed them at Lackland, and they did a lot of all the K9 training was done at Lackland.
Was
so
it
we
really?
had all kinds of people from the Saudi Arabia and all over the world were trained at Lackland.
Oh, no kidding.
Defensive Language Institute was there where they taught everyone from the service all the different languages, Russian and
Oh, right.
Arabian and stuff like
No
that.
kidding.
Yeah, they taught them all that, and for the espionage stuff.
Right.
So we had all kinds of multi forces there. All the security police are trained there. So so we processed them for the deployment and stuff, but we saw a lot of mental health stuff.
Yeah,
We,
it's
we were in charge of processing and finding those issues
oh, is that
as
right?
well as all the physical ones.
So
But
yeah,
we
they
saw a
usually
lot of
weed
that stuff.
themselves out pretty early on in training. A lot
Yeah,
of like,
yeah,
if you have a significant like an organic mental disorder of any sort,
yeah.
it usually
Existing
weeds
prior to
itself out.
service, we had a whole thing there that I worked with for a while. Anything that was existing prior to service, but anything that came up as well that would preclude them from deployment.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you know,
yeah. You don't
or
want
something like that.
somebody
We
that's
would
suicidal
review.
getting deployed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You
Well,
know,
you
we
have
would have
also, I
to.
mean, the thing is, like, there's that, and then there's a lot of people that come out with that as well.
Right.
And I ask about, like, all the issues with it because you just see a lot of news headlines about, unfortunate suicides on bases and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's getting very common, and there's just, a lot
It,
of issues, I
it
feel like.
is. I mean, I'm 100% service connected disability for PTSD, and I just started getting that about 8 months ago. I waited over 30 years to file a claim for any sort of compensation of anything. I was very reluctant to do it.
Was it harder, would you say, back then? You know what I mean? 30 years ago, or even 10, 20 years ago, than it is now.
To file a claim, you mean? To get
To file a claim, seek good treatment,
Yeah,
anything,
absolutely. Yeah, the VA has changed significantly over the years. I would say the
I
quality.
agree.
It is my only. I don't have civilian health care anymore. I've just re-engaged with the VA health system again here recently, and I'd say they're top notch. I've had no issues with any of
Good
my
thing.
services there. Sometimes getting an appointment takes a while, but if it takes too long, they farm it out to another civilian contractor, so you don't have to wait 3 months for an appointment.
Right.
So yeah, I have no complaints about the way the VA's treated me.
And my son's the same way. He's 100%.
Oh, is he?
Yep. As
Yeah.
well. So he just went through the same thing, and I don't think he had as much issues as he was previously expecting to go through, because we were encouraging him to
Yeah.
go through it. To get the help that.
I vaguely
is
remember
there.
this, yeah.
And he was hesitant, real hesitant,
Mhm.
at first and stuff like that. But he finally reached out, and he's doing better, a lot better. But he's on 100% as well.
It's crazy how the VA system
He was in
works.
Afghanistan.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was in Afghanistan for a while. He was there over a year.
Yeah. See those deployments, man, and some of them
Yeah, they were
deployed three,
pretty-
4, 5 times. Some of them.
Yeah, they were pretty ugly.
Yeah, I empathize with those troops that deployed during Afghanistan time frame.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk about boot camp because that's kind of like the first part of it.
Oh yeah.
Or we could actually talk about your actual enlistment. So you said you enlisted in junior year.
Yeah,
So did you go to
yeah.
like an actual enlistment place and whatnot?
Yeah, I had to go to the MEPS, the Military Entry Point of Service in Baltimore, and do all the paperwork. And it ended up, well, the story behind me getting into the Army was I actually switched and was going to go to the Air Force.
Ah,
That's
My contract, because I was on delayed entry for more than a year,
right.
I had to re-enlist my senior year of high school. I was on it, so they're like, hey, you have to re-sign your paperwork. Basically, you have to re-enlist. And I was like, well, I don't like the job I picked. I picked out some communications job for the Army, and I was like, man, I've been reading on that, and it sounds like it's not me, man. And he's
so it
like,
worked out for you.
so I said, well, I want to go to the Air Force instead. So he gave all my paperwork to the Air Force. And, yeah, the Air Force was taking a long time on my paperwork.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, the recruiter went on vacation or something.
Ah, wow.
I had a big falling out with my dad one night, and I ran into my Army recruiter at 7-Eleven like 2 a.m.
Coincidence.
drunk. I said, how long till you can get me in the Army? And he said 48 hours. And so I met him the next morning, and 2 days later I was shipped out for the Army.
Yeah, there's a lot of recruiters
He
out
wasn't
there.
lying.
Yeah, it was legit. Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah,
were
no.
2 days, I was gone.
There's a lot of recruiters out there that are definitely serious about their job.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they're out there, like they'll be grocery shopping, and then
Yep.
if like they see you like with
Shit.
ROTC something on, they'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
like, "Oh, you're an ROTC. Here's my card." It's crazy because I'll still get like random things from different recruiters and stuff.
Sergeant Walker. That was his name. I'll never forget him. He was my recruiter.
I don't know how long they've been going to schools and stuff like that, and like nowadays they'll put like a pull-up bar in the cafeteria during lunchtime.
Oh, really?
Right? Which is, I guess, it's a very good marketing thing because because it's like, let's see, guys are like, let's see how many.
Right.
Now I'll admit, right, I definitely am very light, so like if I have decent strength, I can do.
You can rail out.
Yeah, I can do a lot. Oh yeah, so like. During the tech center days, I know I went up and did a bunch, and then I started doing like one arm shits.
Did you really?
Yeah, well, like for a while, right? I always thought a one armed pull up was like people doing this.
Right.
And, like you try it, and you're like,
you
no.
have to.
Yeah. So shout out the Gateway gym teacher for weight training, Mr. Whitty. He showed that method. And I was like, once I started that, I was like, oh, I can bang these out too.
That's
but
awesome.
no, once you like give them your information, like
Oh, they're some of the best sales training ever.
Oh yeah,
They get. They
Definitely.
definitely do.
I think they get paid for each recruiter.
They have a quota they have to meet.
And they have a quota they have to meet.
At one point, I may or may
like
not
star
have
salesmen.
joined the military because I was in ROTC my sophomore year, but then I ended up getting expelled for some dumb thing where I gave a kid a BB gun.
Oh, is that right?
He brought it back to school and got in trouble, and then
jeez.
said that I gave it to him and stuff. So literally on my 16th birthday, I got kicked out of school.
Oh my gosh.
In uniform and stuff. So and I was actually taking it serious. I was on the drill team, so I was doing drill practice early in the morning. Raiders, which was like a physical training kind of thing. So you had to I never personally set up the rope, but other kids would set up rope and you would have to climb the rope and stuff like that. They used to kind of laugh because I would look like a spider monkey going so fast across the rope and stuff like that. But yeah, I actually went to one of those competitions for Raiders and stuff
is that
like
right?
that. I was really close to going to a drill competition too, but I was out of there at that point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's interesting too because the vice principal asked me if I wanted to have either the colonel or the first sergeant come in. And I was like, fair enough, you know what I mean? So I had the first sergeant come in.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because I feel like it would be almost disrespectful, being on drill team, being on Raiders, to not even acknowledge to his face, hey, I made a mistake, so I'm out of here. And what's interesting is the kid that I gave it to was in the exact same class as me. So
oh no.
Yeah, literally that day, right? They're talking about how he got kicked out, right? And I had heard, I guess, that he had the same, BB pistol and whatnot, and other stuff too. He had prior, I guess he had pills and stuff at school and stuff.
Yeah.
So the story, I guess, I don't know if I've told it on the podcast. I'll keep it short. We were hanging out after school one day, met him in ROTC. He gave me this knife, right? The tip was broken off, but in my head, I'm like, well, shit, I could still poke someone with it if I needed to. So I was like, sure, I'll take it. And then I had this BB pistol that couldn't shoot anything. Now, I know you're not supposed to take the orange tip off.
Right.
But I went to take the orange tip off, and it kind of broke it even further. I think it already couldn't shoot, but it could have been fixed. I broke the shit out of it trying to break that tip off. So I was like, okay, this guy will probably have, he'll use it somehow. It ain't my business.
Right.
So I was like, I'll be a good, good pal. He wants to give me this knife. I'll give him, So anyway, like I said, he was being a fool. He kept bringing it back to school. Now, I admit, it was definitely stupid. I gave it to him in the bathroom, right? Because I don't really hang out with him that much.
Right,
I meet him at school, right? Now, literally, this kid would light up cigarettes in the bathroom, and, I would even hit it a couple times. You know what I mean? But I'd get the fuck out of it.
Right.
I'm not stupid. I guess I'm a little stupid for smoking cigarettes in school, but fuck it.
Not sticking around.
But either way, you're thinking all right, this kid's smoking Newports in the bathroom and giving you a knife. He's not gonna, say nothing.
Right.
Super weird actually, because literally the police were involved. Anyway, on my 16th birthday, I'm in ROTC class and I hear them all talking about this kid, right? So I'm not even thinking that I'm gonna be involved.
Right.
They're like, you need to go to the office. And I'm like, okay. I used to get called into there for dumb shit a lot. So I figured this was maybe hey, you've been doing good,
Right. Oh, shit.
I go in, there's 2 cops. So I was like, what's this? You know what I mean? So it turns out, right, because I ended up having to get a probation officer, all sorts of dumb shit, right?
Oh,
because,
wow.
they treat, even if it's like a Nerf gun, they treat that shit like it's a weapon.
Really?
So yeah,
Oh,
they
wow.
take it super serious. So basically, after a while, once I ended up getting a probation officer, I was read like an official report. So I got to know exactly what happened in detail. Super weird because these random kids that weren't even involved with me and this kid that exchanged the thing,
Right.
they were trying to get this other kid in trouble. And they said that this kid had the BB pistol that I gave to the kid. They were trying to get some other kid in trouble that had nothing to
Wow.
do with us, and they were like, yeah, this kid has a BB pistol. So when they went to go search that kid, he told on the kid that I gave the pistol to. So I don't blame that kid too much, you know what I mean?
Right,
That was
right.
bullshit that he was even, So, and then like I said, he told them that I gave it to him. And I
your
definitely
ROTC.
could have denied it, but I really didn't think it was as big of a deal as it was. So when they
Right.
told me I was expelled, I was like, what?
Damn.
Yeah, happy birthday
Oh, yeah,
to me.
right. Oh, man. On your birthday.
After I was out of the school and whatnot, it was pretty funny. I was like, this is kind of a story I can tell, I guess. You know what I mean? At some point, you gotta go,
Right.
like, no matter what happens to you, to a point, you gotta go, like, it's happened, so find some light in it,
Yeah.
Be like, damn, it is kind of ironic this happened on my birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
But yeah, no, it's just funny because we were talking about the recruiters and stuff. But no, I feel like if I had maybe had not happened, and I had been in ROTC up
Sure.
until senior year, I could have got a pretty high rank. I could have been convinced to join because
Things, you never know what's going to change your trajectory of your life, man. It's amazing.
yeah, and like the reason I had asked about like any particular groups that influenced your bad behaviors, because I'll admit that when I went to the alternative school, it's a great school for learning. The teachers there are great, but like I got influenced by some of the kids that
Other
went
kids,
there. Yeah,
sure.
because
It's like when you go to jail, you become a better criminal kind of mentality.
yeah. So like I had always been a regular, semi-regular smoker. We were talking about this a little bit. When you're in high school, you can't really afford to smoke. So I had kids asking me like, "Yo, you want to buy an ounce or whatever?" And I'm like, "I don't got that fucking money."
Right,
And
right.
I had kids like saying like, "We'll front it," you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Oh,
like,
God.
and eventually, you just end up doing stuff because
Yeah.
the kids around you do it and stuff like that.
Yeah, peer pressure it's definitely real. It's
Yeah.
definitely real.
But I'll admit, like, even though I was around certain people, I never quite went down the path that they
Yeah.
went down. And I'll admit it was for good reason.
Mhm.
Like some of the kids that I'm talking about in particular, like of course I ain't gonna name any names, but like two kids in my class that were, I guess in one way or another, trying to make me a customer of theirs and whatnot. Not that they were like predatory about it or
Right,
anything
right.
like that. They were pretty cool friends to me and stuff. But they ended up getting arrested and stuff like
Oh,
several
really?
times for like home invasions and stuff
Oh,
like
my
that. So
gosh.
it's like, yeah, I mean, like this is the type of kids I went to school with and stuff. So like, you'd be surprised, what kids are into and stuff
Wow.
like that.
Home invasion. That's scary. That's like strikes the biggest fear in me hearing those two words.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have to edit this out of my one of my podcasts, but one of my guests recently had something happen to him and stuff because some people thought that he was still involved in something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which he's
Oh,
not.
wow.
You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
It's like, honestly, this kid isn't involved in anything serious at all. It's just people, people around here. It's like you'd be surprised how petty people are over like little stuff. Because you wouldn't think like that marijuana would cause any sort of incidents or violence.
Right,
But people
right.
are just stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't hear it as much with that as you do other substances for sure.
No, and it's really not as prevalent. But I guess when you're in a small town and whatnot,
Right,
and it's
right.
really like low level shit, like kids. You know what I mean? Kids trying to be better than each
Right.
other and stuff like that. It's a lot of people really trying to just be something they're not. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Especially here, we're close to Baltimore. I've talked
Yeah.
about it before on my podcast. A lot of people like to just imitate some of the bad behavior that
Sure.
comes out of there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They glorify a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
shouldn't be glorified.
Yeah, no, that's one place I try to avoid.
Yeah.
It's going up.
You and me both.
Yeah. I prefer not. I'd rather go to DC if I need to see the city.
Have you had like particular experiences in Baltimore?
None that I want to talk about.
Fair, yeah, that's fair. So we were talking about boot camp and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, boot camp was it was boot camp wasn't hard for me. I didn't find, and I was never an athlete in school or anything. But my dad always made me work out. But
Okay.
I ended up getting in trouble in boot camp 2 days before my graduation.
Oh
I
man.
snuck out to the PX to go get a can of snuff, and I got caught on the way back. And
Is that a beer?
no, can of tobacco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And man, my best friend, my girlfriend at the time, my dad, his wife, my grandmother, my brother, they all were coming for my graduation. They came. I had my graduation. We were supposed to have an overnight pass. They had a hotel for us and everything. We were going to party and have fun and blah, blah, blah. After graduation, man, my first sergeant, I was standing there talking to my family. He calls me over. He said, Baacke, tell your family and get the fuck out of here.
Damn.
Go get on your PT uniform and start cleaning my office.
Shit.
That's how I spent my graduation day in
Aw,
basic
man.
training, man. It's cleaning my first sergeant's office.
Wow.
All night, too. We did it. I did it from the time we finished graduation until PT the next morning. I was up
Did you
all
at
night.
least have a lip in at that point?
No,
I
no,
know
they
you're in the sergeant's office.
They confiscated that.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
but think about it. That at that point you'd be like, man, at least let me get a lip in. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I wish. I remember that ruined my whole graduation.
You eat the jelly donut.
Yeah.
They didn't leave me.
You eat it, they pay for it. Oh my god. Is there any other kind of stories from boot camp?
Basic. No, well, I mean, back then it was a different era back then than it is now, for sure. I mean,
Are you saying like they could, kind of talk to you a different way?
yeah, like I
shit
mean,
like that?
I had two drill sergeants. One was a female, and she was a badass. She hit me twice. She hit me right in the head one time, and then she hit me
Damn.
right in the chest with an open hand one time as hard as she could.
Damn.
You know, not
You
like
think that that they have to I guess I don't want to say compensate, but they got to,
oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I've been married 3 times. 2 of my ex-wives were active duty military.
okay.
And my daughter's mother was an Army MP, so I know the standards and what they have to meet. Is
Right.
definitely they have to live up to a higher expectation just because they are.
Would you say they're treated differently in the military?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
In an unfair kind of way, or
Not always.
okay.
No, sometimes it can be just the opposite.
Yeah, and well, here's the thing too. I'm all for rights and stuff like that, but people got to be realistic when it comes to certain scenarios and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I wrote in college on my opposition not to women in the military because I don't oppose women serving in the military at all.
Right.
But women in a combat zone, I don't think is a good idea.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and there's also been a lot of I guess issues of sexual assault and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it happens a lot more than it's probably reported.
definitely.
And if a woman is taken POW, you know what will happen for sure. So
Yeah, and there's the question of how do we ingratiate the two together, men and women, when it comes to camping together, stuff like that, to avoid things like that. And is there anything that you think would avoid just a lot of the issues of people coming out of the military with certain mental health issues and things like that?
I don't know how they debrief now. I know the objective when I was in was to do immediate debriefing. So say an immediate after action review. They were starting to implement things like that to help prevent the symptoms of PTSD.
So is that after you go through a traumatic event, you immediately go through to someone
Yeah.
to talk to and
Yep.
stuff like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
you process all that stuff. Oops, sorry, what just happened, and all the things that went down.
Would you say that's a helpful deterrent?
I think it's helpful if it's taken seriously.
Right. And sometimes it's not.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of times it's, it's just one of those things that they have to check off that they did.
Yeah.
So,
But see, at that point, it shows them that it's something that's there for them.
I just know when I was trying to do one of those debriefings back in when Desert Storm ended, we were in a convoy line. We just kind of stopped in the middle of the desert, and we were sitting there for a couple weeks, and we found out we were going to redeploy back. So I was driving down the convoy line to announce we were doing a debriefing, one of these debriefings, and about 3 vehicle lengths in front of me was a gentleman named Colonel Nix, full bird colonel. He was their commander because I was attached to an infantry unit, and he was telling all of his troops, he was ordering them
Right.
not to go to the meeting that I was announcing.
Wow.
So that's how much respect mental health. He was the same guy that I had a patient that shot himself in the chest with an M16 to try to kill himself, and he basically got a flesh wound, hit a rib, and came out right here. He got court-martialed for it.
I was just about to say, like, some people don't understand, like, not only, you know, are they going to neglect your treatment in general, but, like, if you do make an attempt and live,
yeah.
like, don't think they're going to be courteous to that
Huh.
fact. Like, in fact, they will punish you for that.
You know, so I went to his court-martial hearing just to hear. I didn't have to testify or anything, but to hear what
Right.
was going to happen.
Yeah.
Colonel Nix, they called him up and they asked, you know, Colonel Nix, because it was his troop, you know, what is your recommendation for punishment? And I'll never forget. I mean, it's like I heard it yesterday. I recommend death by firing squad.
I think you.
That's what he said.
I think I remember you mentioning this once before.
Yeah, I
and
couldn't
we were
believe
just
that.
like, yeah.
I was floored, man. I asked my boss, I was like, is that? He said, yeah, you're in the Army. They can do that, son. Like, but he ended up getting 4 years in Leavenworth for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mental health was not, we weren't popular back then, but I tried to make myself more specialized in just having a mental health certification. I was also an EMT. I was assigned to an airborne medical unit.
Okay.
So I wanted to be deployable, you know,
Right.
because when you're an airborne unit and it comes time for an operation, if all you have is a mental health qualification, you're not going to get a parachute.
Right.
They only have so many parachutes and so many planes to jump into a combat scenario, and I always wanted to be one to jump. So
Right.
for me, it was okay. So now if I become an EMT, now I have a dual role. I can be more valuable. So that was always my goal.
Isn't that what our friend Brady at work wants to do? More or
Yes.
less. Yeah, I don't think he's going airborne, but we have a friend at work who joined, was it the Army he joined?
He did.
Yeah, he joined the Army and he wants to be a medic and stuff like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
Was that qualification hard for you at all?
The mental health, the behavioral science training was a long training.
Okay.
It was. I had a huge barrier when I was first in the military. My brother killed himself, so that was difficult.
Right.
That was during my training. Actually, I was in learning about schizophrenia when my brother killed himself, and it was odd because I was realizing that all the symptoms I was learning about schizophrenia, my brother had exhibited,
Right.
and then he killed himself. So
Do you think he was, like, not diagnosed and he should have been?
yeah, he was definitely, well, I think he was misdiagnosed is what
Right.
happened. Yeah. Yep. I think he was misdiagnosed. So, but
I
that
gotcha.
was during that time. It was a challenge for me because I got behind on my studies a lot, and they wanted to push me back to another class, and it was, yeah, I had to argue my point to stay in the class that I was in and make it through. So.
Were they understanding of that?
Yeah, they totally were.
That's good.
Yeah, yep. I'll never. His name was Dr. Stokes. He was the director of the program, and he was the one that let me. He said, "If I'll give you an opportunity, see if you can make up what you've missed," and he gave me that chance, so it was kind of cool.
Nice. When it came to the airborne training and stuff like that, I'm assuming that, you know, they had to take you up and stuff like that.
Oh,
You had to jump
yeah.
out, and you said you were afraid of heights. So how was
Terrified.
this training
Oh,
process for
man.
you?
So they do a progression. They start you out in, it's called a swing landing trainer. It's only like 15 feet off the ground, and you
Okay.
start out there and you learn how to land correctly, because that's the real risk of getting injured is
Yeah,
when you land.
fuck up your legs.
Yeah. So there's a certain technique you do to land. So you start out there, then they take you up to a 34-foot tower, and that's a specific height because when people are afraid of height, at that height, people will start to become very uneasy at 34 feet.
Interesting.
So it's specifically designed for that.
Okay.
And so you jump out of that again and again and again.
Huh.
And then they progress you up to a 250-foot tower that they pull you up, and then they drop you off of that.
Ah.
And then
Okay.
you do your jumps out of the plane. But in airborne school, you're jumping like 2.5, 3,000 feet, which is fairly reasonably high enough that if you have a malfunction of your parachute, you have a lot of time to kind of correct something if it happens. But like when I jumped in the 82nd Airborne, you only jump from 800 feet.
Oh, okay.
So you're very low to the ground. So
I gotcha.
it's a lot more risky when you're in an airborne unit. The operations that you do are a lot more realistic because in combat you only jump from 500 feet.
Mm.
So yeah, you don't even have to pack a reserve because you don't have time to use it if something happens. So anyhow, but airborne school it was scary because I'm afraid of heights. But I knew that if I could overcome that and still work through it, it would make me a better person. And sure enough, it did. And one of the biggest complaints I used to get from patients when I was a mental health counselor in the 82nd was, I'm afraid to jump.
Right.
Well, I totally get it. Like I can relate, So I had that commonality with a lot of my patients.
It's a good practice to have in life in general is just to overcome anything like that.
Absolutely.
Roller coasters, anything.
Yep.
It's a good habit of just, breaking a good mental barrier and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, people always just make the argument like, this could happen, this could happen. It's like, sure.
Facing your fears, right?
Right.
In life, yeah. Just in general, yeah. But
yeah, sometimes you have to. I don't know. For me, when I get comfortable in life, things get stagnant, and I get uncomfortable.
Right.
I feel like I got to be doing something to be moving forward somehow.
Yeah. There's a book. I think it's just called. I honestly forget what it's called. I might try to look it up, but it's basically a book about how trying new things is like really good for you, and how you almost kind of have to be always trying something new, or like when you are beginning something, like if you begin archery or something, like that beginning
Right.
stage where you're failing more or less is
Mhm.
like really good for developing and stuff like that.
I'll have to keep that in mind next time I go out golfing.
So now we can kind of talk about the first deployment and stuff like that. So what was it like going out, for the first time?
So for me, it was I was super excited. I was only 19 years old. I mean, that's what we trained to do. It was like, wow, we're really getting a chance to implement what we've been trained to do. It's not every day you get to do that because I had just missed Panama Operation Just Cause.
Okay.
A lot of the people in my unit had already deployed to Just Cause, so for me, I was the new guy in the unit. I was literally only in my unit for about a month when we deployed.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was the new guy, lowest one on the totem pole, and got hazed and stuff and all that good. But it was a golden opportunity because I earned everybody's respect. To be in a deployed environment.
Do you feel like in a certain way that you have to earn respect in a group like that?
Oh yeah, there's a certain, and that's why when I was talking about opposition to women in combat, not military, is that there's a certain bonding that happens with men when they're deployed in that environment. That when you
Right.
put a woman into that mix, it changes the way that bonding happens, or
Yeah.
if it actually happens at all.
Yeah.
Because when you're deployed with all dudes, it's just you create a bond with each other that you don't have that distraction of a woman or that just that interference or that.
Yeah, I think it can definitely throw off, like, when it comes to maintaining safety and stuff like that. Because when it comes to emergency situations, Titanic is sinking,
Right.
something's happening in a public place. Like, I feel like it's just been something that's been implemented for most of the time where men kind of, where it's like women and children on the boats first,
Right,
and men
right.
kind of stay to fight and shit like that. So I feel like when you have a group of men only, they all have that mindset where it's like we're fighting with each other for each other, but at the same time we can handle each other. But when you throw the woman in there, part of you is always, I guess, going to be concerned. You know what I mean?
And you might compromise your mission as a result.
Right. So that's kind of the point I wanted
Whereas
to
if
make.
that's a guy that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing or they're in danger, I might react differently.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to carry a woman's backpack forward than another guy's backpack. if they're struggling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's a guy, I'm gonna say, hey man, get your ass in gear, let's go.
Yeah, and it's like, like I was saying earlier, it's like most people are very considerate about women's rights and stuff
Right.
like that, and
Right.
some women get offended at things like that, but it's like, really, again, you got to be realistic about body size, things like that. It's like, how heavy is the general backpack of supplies
Right.
that a soldier has
I
to
carried an
carry?
80-pound pack.
Right. Now, I weigh probably very similar to most of these girls. I'm
Right.
not even going to lie. I'm built like 110, right? And not even 5'5", something like that. So, like, that's literally more than half
Right.
my body weight. So I can imagine,
So my first wife was 4'11". She was active duty Army. I mean,
Wow.
seriously, you telling me she can maintain the same standard? You can't. You just
Right.
can't expect that. And when I presented my paper in college, I knew I would get blowback because about 70% of my class was women,
Right. Oh, man.
and I was getting raw data because I was friends with a consultant to the Surgeon General in the Army at the time, and he was giving me raw data from Iraqi Freedom, the first Operation Iraqi Freedom, and and I knew I would get blowback from people in the class.
Imagine it now.
Well, so this is what I said though. They were like, well, because I would talk about the different standards and this and that, and they were like, well, you could find a woman that could meet the same standard as a man. And I was like, I'm not going to deny you that. I said, let me challenge that though. Let me tell you, go find a guy right now in this building that can put me down on the ground, restrain me, whatever. You can come back in a few minutes. You're going to find somebody.
Yeah.
I said, now go find that woman.
Yeah.
And they just all shut up, man, because they're out there, no lie. I mean, there are women that can meet that standard. They're just far and few in between. That's all.
Yeah.
It's a small percentage of the population.
The big problem is people don't know how to make these arguments either. You know what I mean? Like Andrew Tate, for example, he's tried to make this sort of argument,
Right.
but the way he said it was just very out of pocket. You know what I mean?
It's hard to say it and not be offensive in any way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't mean for it to be
Of course
offensive
not.
to
That's
a
the
woman
point
at
I'm
all.
trying to make.
It's just you shouldn't have the same standard for a woman as a man in that environment.
No.
Can
No,
a woman
certainly
shoot a
not.
weapon as just as well as a man?
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Better.
They're easier to train at shooting a firearm. Most firearms instructors will tell you.
Yeah.
But that's not the only job that a soldier has. There's a whole lot of other jobs that come with that duty, and being a certain stature and strength and capability is part of that requirement. So.
Right. So, just more into the first deployment and stuff. You were saying you were very excited and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, just
So
like, what were the
I just remember sitting on the plane, telling my boss next to me, he was in like an E6, an older E6 sergeant, and he was like, "What is wrong with you, man?" I was like, I'm stoked, man. I was ready. You know what I mean? I was ready. I was ready to go to combat, and so it was just a lot of build up while I was there, though. Like the movie Jarhead, really, to me, it's a good example of what Desert Shield, Desert Storm was really like, for the most part.
I was just about to ask, when it comes to movies and stuff like that, what's accurate and what is inaccurate?
Yeah, I think Jarhead was from the way it was for me. Desert Shield, Desert Storm, that was the most accurate movie, for the most part.
Okay.
The things that as a medic, you see stuff that you might not see otherwise. Like if you're a cook or supply guy or something, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. As a medic, you see other stuff, but I got to see some pretty horrific stuff as a medic that just caught me off guard. Like you don't expect to see kids and babies and stuff in the combat zone, and that fucked me up pretty good. But for the most part, it was the build up, worrying about getting bombed with anthrax by Saddam Hussein. That was, that fear every day. We went everywhere we went. We had a protective mask with us. We were out running PT. We had our mask with us, and it was that constant fear, that stress, that build up.
Is there a point, or at what point does that ever leave? Even when you leave that area.
Yeah. So like once we redeployed, once we realized that we were able to shoot down Scud missiles like it was nothing with our Patriots, we kind of chilled. You know what I mean? We were like, these Scuds are They're hit or miss anyhow at best.
Right.
But we're able to shoot them down.
And you're
So
talking just about the rocket defense systems that we've
yeah,
built. Yeah, I see
yeah.
videos of it, and
It was
it's amazing.
it had been unproven at that time. So we didn't know if they were going to be working or not, and so that was scary to think that you could be sitting there and a Scud missile comes in and drops anthrax on you.
Guaranteed.
It's, if you ever see what anthrax does, it's not pleasant for sure.
Yeah.
So that was cool though, but to bond with all the new people in my unit, we were there almost a year, so it was. I look back now and say it was a good time, but
Okay.
while I was doing it, I would say it sucked.
Yeah, I had a thing here. Was there any point in which you like regretted your decision to join at all?
Not until the very end
Okay.
when yeah, I had planned on being a lifer. I was going to be a 20 or 30 year. That was my goal. I wanted to be a command sergeant major.
Because the benefits just get better and better as you get in, right?
Well, and I like the structure of the military.
Right.
I like the way that you could progress and earn rank. I excelled at so many things, little things that in the Army that really made you stand out, like always having the pressed uniform, shine boots, haircut,
Right,
always,
right.
acting a certain
Structured
way.
environment.
Did
Yeah.
did anything from cosmetology come in hand for
Oh
that?
yeah, so I was the unit barber when I was deployed to
Oh, shit,
Saudi.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
and then even after that, I would cut my officers, and when they would get their official photos and stuff done,
Ah,
they would always want me to do their uniform for me because I have bad OCD. I would make sure that all the ribbons were perfect on their uniform, and
they loved that.
oh yeah, and I always cut their hair for them. Yeah.
That's a definitely good thing to be able to do for like the
was.
officers and
I
stuff
used
like
to cut
that.
the colonel's hair.
Oh yeah.
It got me into.
The amount of trust that takes, some people
Yeah.
don't understand. Like, I'll admit, like, I know jack shit because I was in ROTC for a year, but like, trust me, like, a colonel and people who have high rank, they demand their respect. I remember my first sergeant, he would get mad if you called him sir.
Oh
He'd be
yeah,
like,
I work for a living.
yeah, well, no, I think he said that shit for real.
Yeah,
He was
yes,
he said, I am not a sir. He said, sir is for low-ranking people. I am a first sergeant. I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's,
Yeah, you don't
it's like,
call it.
yes, first sergeant.
There you go.
But it's like, no,
Absolutely.
some people don't get it though, So, but like, to be able to have the colonel respect you, to
Right.
cut his hair, like, that's, that's
Absolutely.
definitely something else for sure.
It got me into. See, I haven't being in a small unit detachment like I was. It got me a lot of privileges that I wouldn't have had as just a regular enlisted guy.
Right.
Because I worked directly with different officers that we were friends outside of work. The guy that introduced me to cigars was my boss in the Army. He was,
Okay,
yeah, he
cool,
was a
cool.
psychiatrist that I worked for in the Army. He introduced me to him over in Desert Shield was my first time. I smoked a cigar once when I was like 9 and got sick from it, but after that I was in the desert first time I ever smoked a real cigar.
Do you remember what cigar that was?
Yeah, I bought a Cuban. I don't remember which one it was, but I just know it was a Cuban we bought in the market in Saudi Arabia, and it was about it was huge, and I had a picture of
That's
me.
insane.
I was smoking it in on the balcony at Cobart Towers, which later
Nice.
got bombed. Actually,
Oh, wow.
Cobart Towers in Kuwait City got
Shit.
bombed. Yeah, but he was the one that introduced me to cigars, and he and I were really good friends. He died young. He died at 52 of lymphoma, unexpectedly. It was sad, the whole thing that happened when he died. But you're talking about rank and stuff like that. And so, the highest ranking military official is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
Yeah.
And when my friend, his name was Dean, Dr. Wiley, when he died, he was also a carpenter. He was doing an addition on his house. And anyhow, several of us at the funeral told his wife we would help finish, doing this.
Nice.
So I was at Home Depot one time, and I had heard my commander in the 82nd Airborne was General Shelton, who later became chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And so he had got medically boarded out. He fell off a ladder and had a cervical injury. Anyhow, long story short, I was in Home Depot one day, and I thought I saw General Shelton, and I was like, I don't want to bother him if it was him, but
Right.
anyhow, I built up the courage, and I was like, because my friend Dean had just died, and he was his division psychiatrist while he was the commander there. So I thought maybe he would remember him.
Right.
So I saw this guy turn. I saw a little scar behind his collar, and I was like, that's got to be him, right?
Right. Right.
So I walk up to this guy. He's the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, right? And I lean into him, and I say, "Excuse me, sir." He looks at me like kind of a little puzzled. I was like, "Are you Hugh Shelton?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And I started telling him the story, hey, Dr. Wiley died. He was your division psychiatrist. He's like, oh, I remember him well, because Dean and I were tight. We were good friends. But he was like, yeah, I remember him and this and that. But I was telling this story to a buddy of mine who was the consultant to the Surgeon General at the time. He was an '06 colonel. And I was telling him the story, and he stopped me. He said, Troy, please tell me you didn't call the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs Hugh. And I was like, yep, I sure did. And I told him, General Shelton, afterwards, I said, hey, I didn't mean any disrespect by calling you by your name. I said, but post 9/11 in public, I said, I didn't want to.
Right.
He said, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it like to be a cocky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was doing it out of the utmost respect, but
Right.
I still called the chairman Joint Chiefs Hugh.
Yeah, that's pretty good story.
Yeah, it was.
That's really neat.
But it was cool. He remembered, my boss, and it was, like I said, he was the one that introduced me to cigars.
Nice. So in general, when it came to your deployment, and in general, what kind of travel experience have you had in your life?
So I haven't traveled significantly. When the first time leaving the country was Desert Shield, Desert Storm. But outside of that, I went to St. Lucia one time. That was an interesting trip, actually. I went to, when I got out of the Army, I went to culinary school. And
you were a chef at one point.
yeah, I cooked professionally for 10 years. I ended up, so piggyback right onto the story of my friend Dean that died. His daughter, it was a herpetologist, and her husband, her new husband, were going to St. Lucia to hunt a venomous snake that's indigenous only to St. Lucia.
Oh, shit, okay.
And there was a team from National Geographic that went.
Wow.
Curators from other, like the New York Zoo was there, some
Wow.
other, like Los Angeles Zoo. There was like some pretty well-known people in the industry apparently that were going, and they asked me to go along because they wanted partly for security purposes, but also because I could cook.
Okay.
So I went on this
Wow.
trip with all of them to St. Lucia, and it was a blast, man. We got
Where
to
is
go.
St. Lucia?
It's in the islands of. I'd have to look at a map and see. Yeah, Google it. I just know it was a terrible flight going in.
Was it on like one of them small planes and
A
stuff?
little puddle hopper, yeah.
It's an Eastern Caribbean island. That's pretty much what it says.
Yeah, that's about as much as I would know about it.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful place, I can tell you that. It's and it was inexpensive.
It's an island country of the West Indies. So, yeah. But no, that's actually really cool.
It was a cool place. We got to go in. I had a bunch of photos of me in the market, like getting fresh fish, and it was just a whole different world there. It was kind of cool. But that was outside of that. I haven't traveled outside of the United States much, but in the U.S. I've traveled significantly from Florida to Alaska.
Okay.
I've lived so many different places. I've had now probably close to 60 jobs in my life.
Damn. So yeah, when it came to like the newspaper job and stuff like that, I wanted to ask like what other kind of jobs, have you had? We definitely don't got to get into all of them, but like just, you can fire off like some of the other ones.
Oh my God. So, I sold meat off the back of a truck for like 2 days. I did that once.
2 days.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized it was bogus. It was a pyramid scheme, one of those type things. I was like, this ain't me, man.
But it's a good trait to have as well, to be able to recognize when something ain't for you and to be able to just pick up and leave. Some people would have something to say about, you've had 60 jobs really, but it's like, hey, you knew where you weren't meant to be, so like that's.
I would move.
I applaud that.
When you can cook, you can basically travel anywhere and get a job
Uh-huh.
within a couple days. You know, I had no problem like moving to Florida. I moved down there just on a whim. Moved to Anchorage, Alaska, California.
Is Anchorage, Alaska, like a more populated area? Or
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's not desolate or isolated.
Yeah,
Like
because there's some parts that like
Oh yeah.
people gotta fly shit in by plane.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Shit is mad expensive out there. People think inflation in Maryland's bad. Go to these parts of Alaska.
Try buying like an armoire or something in
Shit,
Anchorage.
this shit's probably rarer than booze out there, and
Right,
this
right.
is just fucking spring water
Yeah.
from Italy, man. It's fucking.
Anything that you have to ship in there. If you get a vehicle, it's super expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine like
Yeah.
a basic car like what I drive with like crank windows and shit. It's 2016, but still, imagine what that would cost in a place like that. That'd be like 30 grand. More-
Anchorage was a cool place. I only stayed for the summer though there. I didn't
Okay.
stay for the winter.
Now, even in a place like that, is the weather where like the sun's out super late? and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah. So it was 24/7 basically.
Wow.
You could tie a fishing line at 3 a.m. without a
Does
flashlight.
that mess up your sleeping
Oh,
patterns?
yeah, yeah. But I was working in the restaurant business, so I wouldn't be off till 2, 3 in the morning anyhow. So
I gotcha.
It was cool.
Okay. So meat off the back of a truck. What else?
Oh yeah. So oh my gosh. Man, I was a waiter. That's what led me to go to culinary school.
Okay.
That was my second job out of the army. I was a server, and I sucked at it. I was terrible.
Right.
Oh man! So I had two ladies. One day ordered a salad. Each one ordered a salad. One ordered a house salad. One ordered a Caesar salad. And I asked them both what kind of dressing they wanted. And the lady with the Caesar salad looked at me and she's like, "It's a Caesar salad." Like, I'm like, "Yeah. What does that mean? Like, what kind of dressing do you want, lady?" Like, I don't know what Caesar dressing meant. You know what I mean? I didn't know it was
Yeah.
its own dressing.
At the
but-
same time, though, man, that, like, go back in time and be like, man, lady, you need to chill out.
Right.
You know, because, like, I get where you're coming from.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's common sense, but not to everybody.
Right,
That's the
right.
kind of shit, like, lately that'll bother me is, like, some people just don't realize, like, I experienced this in construction and stuff like that. Like, I would ask questions about some pretty basic shit. Like, one of the first jobs I went to, during a final, like, if you're low pecking order, you're a apprentice.
Right.
What they'll do is they'll have you throw out like all the plugs, all the switches, So I see I see an electrical box up high, right? Now, most light fixture boxes are circular. So if it was a circular thing, I would have been like, okay, that's a light, right? Since it was square like a plug, I said, do I throw a plug there? And they start laughing and shit. And I'm like standing there like, well, what the fuck? It's not like I know.
Right.
So, that's just something you experience everywhere.
Right.
It's kind of like shitty. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It's like, how are you supposed to learn in these environments when people are dicks like that?
Well, I learned because I immediately enrolled in culinary school the next week.
Oh, the next week.
I did the very next week. I was so humiliated by that moment. It stood out. It's a very significant moment in my life. I felt so embarrassed and humiliated. I was like, I'm going to learn as much about food as I can. I'm going to culinary school, man.
Yeah, definitely. No, experiences like that, while they're not fun, they are quick learning experiences.
Yeah.
Like when you mess up in a high, I guess, functioning environment like construction or culinary, in a kitchen, like little mistakes, you get barraged pretty hard, but at the same time, it instills pretty quickly for you not
Yeah.
to make the same mistake again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the
And some
same-
chefs are very temperamental.
Have you
Yeah, a
seen
lot
the
of them
movie
are.
The Chef recently?
I just watched it with my son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Great
chef.
movie. Great movie, man.
Yeah,
Really
Yes,
was.
chef.
It gives great insight to.
But it's really like that,
It
though.
really
It's
is.
crazy.
I've had hot food thrown at me.
Oh, man.
Sorry. I've had hot food thrown at me. I've had pots and pans thrown at me. Not everything short of a knife.
Wow.
Never had a knife thrown at me.
Now, is this just from like your higher ups, or this?
Yeah.
From, okay, I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
say it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
customers. doing
No,
this.
no, God, no.
That's crazy.
Never had to deal with that from a customer.
Yeah, and it's like I'm like halfway in between. Like stuff like that is sort of necessary, but at some point though, you got to realize like most people don't really succeed in environments like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's some people you talk to where it's like, especially funny, like on Instagram and construction posts, there will be people that'll point out like, this is why people don't stay in construction is because, people were treated like shit and stuff like that. There's a lot of videos of like older apprentices taking videos of younger apprentices, you know, that are fucking up, making mistakes, and like they're not
Really?
helping them, they're just recording.
Oh,
I never experienced anything like that personally, but it's like just shit like that in general, and it's like,
yeah.
but then when people point that out in the comments and they're like, see, the stuff like this is why people don't stay, and then it's like, well, you're a pussy, we don't need you, you know. It's like, well,
So petty.
yeah, you know, wasn't quite that bad for me. My boss even asked me when I left, he's like, you're not leaving because I'm an asshole, are you? I was like, nah. Which, you know, he could be one, but really, he was only a dick when I made a mistake. And it's like I said, it's really to instill that you don't make that mistake
Sure.
again. He was a good guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know what you're doing wrong, it's not fair. You know, you have to be made aware of
And when
it.
it came to, what's funny is, like, when it came to my most serious mistake, which was I hooked up a disconnect for like a washer or something like that, and the people that I was under, like I was under my friend who helped me get the job, and then an older apprentice who was basically not a journeyman, maybe he was a journeyman, or no, I think he was even close to a master. Either way, they did not check how tight that I did it, and it literally started arcing
Oh.
after the people were moved in and shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
So like literally, like I fried a fucking disconnect, and it
Oh,
could have started a fire.
yeah.
And like he was very serious at the time, but like it's funny because like over smaller shit, it seemed like he got angrier.
Oh,
You know?
really?
But like at the end of the day, because the buddy that was there when I hooked it up, he's like, man, I should have checked that.
it,
You know, the
yeah.
other guy should have checked that. He's like, it's not really your fault. But best believe every fucking disconnect I hooked up after that, I was stripping the fucking
right,
screws,
right.
making sure it was tight. You know?
Yeah, unless you don't know if you don't know.
Yeah.
I told a kid recently I went to go get a sandwich at a restaurant, and he was cleaning outside of the restaurant, like the door and
Yeah.
balcony area with a degreaser and stuff. And I was like, cool, man. And he's like getting this place squared away. And I went in, and the guy at the register was taking my order, and then as he took my order, this kid walked back in, and I asked the guy taking my order, I said, are you making my sandwich or is he? And he's like, oh, kid's got it. I said, tell him he needs to wash his hands and put on gloves. Like that. And he looked at me like are you serious? Like, kind of like, are you serious? And I'm like, hey, I'm being serious. Like, seriously, he was just out there cleaning with degreaser and stuff.
Yeah, guaranteed.
But the kid, like, I could tell he was pissed off about it when the guy went over and said something to him. But I bet you that kid will never not wash his hands again.
Yeah,
Before he
no
makes
doubt.
somebody's sandwich.
What's funny is,
Yeah, hopefully, right.
in his department at work, they just had this potluck sort of thing, and you know, I was kind of like cracking a joke at him. I was like, "Oh, you ain't bring nothing in," you know, and he was telling me how him and this other guy brought this up, and this is very true. He said, I see what these people are like at work. I can't imagine what they're like at home, so I'm not going to trust the sanitary. Because I've seen people at work, like, use the bathroom, come out of the stall, just totally walk out.
Not wash hands, yeah.
Yeah, when I first started, one of the coworkers told me about this other guy. He said, he's a nice guy, but, you know, like, he doesn't wash his hands, you know, after he goes to the bathroom. So, like, I wouldn't, you know, like, touch him or nothing like that. And I was kind of like, at first, I'm like thinking, you know, this guy's gossiping and whatnot, but I've seen it several times. And
Really?
it's like, yeah.
Oh, God.
And, you know, I'll admit, like, we can all admit, men are generally less sanitary than women in general. You know what I mean? But after COVID, I feel like mostly everyone straightened up when it came to, like, much more frequently washing their hands.
Absolutely.
Like that. But you'd be surprised how unsanitary people still are. It's insane.
I worked at Home Depot. I saw it all the time, man. I was so grossed out by it.
And on job sites too. I've mentioned this before. We've literally seen. It's crazy, right? You don't even see piss bottles, man. They'll piss in the tub. Like, it's crazy. We've literally gone in the bathroom to, like, throw lights out, and we've been like, oh, what the fuck, you know?
Pissed in the tub?
Yeah, and we have to set up a ladder in the tub, too, because a lot of fancy houses, you know, they have recessed lighting in the shower. So, like, I'd have to tell my boss, like, man, we ain't setting shit up in here, you know? You find all sorts of stuff, and if people knew what went on in
new construction,
they would, you know, because trust me, homeowners are very picky.
Oh,
when
yeah.
the house is done, they like to go around and, like, put tape at every little mistake.
Right.
If a like a light switch cover plate is crooked even a little bit,
Oh yeah.
we have to go back and fucking, even if that's the only mistake, they'll be like, go back and fucking, that needs to be level.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying if they knew that people would pissed in their tub and shit, they'd be fucking.
Oh my gosh.
If I knew that as the homeowner, I'd be like, get that tub, get it the fuck out. I don't
Right.
want to put my especially
Put a
if you
new
have
one in.
kids, you want your kids bathing in some tub that a fucking carpenter just pissed in or a roofer.
See, I've done construction. Well, I did custom glass and mirror work.
Okay.
High end, like we did really nice homes, and so like the people I worked with, that shit never would have happened, man.
Yeah.
Same in the food industry. I never worked anywhere where somebody would have done something to somebody's food or.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to have a secret clearance to work when I did my internship.
Okay.
Yeah, from culinary school. Nothing like that would have happened.
Yeah, this was never in really the high-end homes. I worked in a lot of, this was usually in the townhouses that we would build.
Really?
And they were decent townhouses, I guess. But it's like another thing. You'd be surprised, people, how fast these houses are built, too.
My son just told me he had a model home put up in his neighborhood. 2 days it was up.
2
2
days?
days. This is in Texas.
Fuck.
2 days.
2
Start
days?
to finish in 2 days.
My God.
He said never buy a model home.
Oh, hell no.
Never buy a model home, man.
Yeah.
They just slap them up, man.
I never had to work on a model home.
2 days. I was
yeah.
like, 2 days.
I do think construction is it's a good thing to, I think if you can, at least do a year in some trade. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'll always have some sort of electrical experience.
Sure.
And I learned enough to where I could really like almost wire a house. I would need help on a few big things like the service and stuff like that. But like, realistically, I could wire most of a house. But like I said, the problem is like when it comes to general mistakes or just a lot of other stuff, there's plenty of things that make construction just, not worth it in the long run. Physically, I was starting to like suffer a lot.
Yeah, my best friend's an electrician for 35 years now, man. It's
you're
laborious work.
Yeah, well, like people, there's plugs under the sink, and try to get into the back of your sink. You gotta like lay on your back, and you're wearing tools, so like I literally like had to go to urgent care for back pain.
Really?
Yeah, sciatica and all sorts of
geez.
shit. Yeah, so. And then when you have other shit going on at the time, it's like you have stressful shit going on outside of work, and then you go into a highly stressful work environment. It's like, I don't know. And then you see people who are in the trades for so long, and they're all hunched back and miserable, and like, I don't know. Like, I saw how hard my boss worked, the guy I worked with on a daily basis, and like, he definitely wasn't getting the kind of credit that he deserved. You know what I mean? He was I could tell he was more hardworking than most of the other foremans. However, he wasn't technically a foreman.
Right.
He literally so at near all of our frequent job sites, there's trailers with all our supplies and stuff like that. And when you're a foreman, you get basically assigned to a specific area in Maryland, and you get your own, trailer with supplies and stuff like that. Like, he was at the point where like he had his own trailer and stuff like that, but he wasn't a foreman per se. So it's like. And
he was doing the work but not getting paid.
I'm sure he was getting paid pretty well. I don't know if he was getting paid as a foreman though.
Right.
You know what I mean? I forget what the exact title was for, someone like him, but either way, it's like with a lot of jobs there's just a pecking order.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And like he got a lot of it, And I was willing to admit, like, he worked a lot harder than I did, and I worked my ass off, you know what I mean? But like he's got to look after me, he's got to look after other crews of people, like I could see the kind of workload that was put on him. I was like, fuck, I don't know if I want that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd
Too
rather worry
stressful.
about one thing like this.
Yeah,
You know what
absolutely.
I mean?
Well, there's nothing like working for yourself, too.
Yeah. And, well, that is a thing that you can do when you're in construction long enough.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you usually you gotta put in the work. You know what I mean?
Right.
You gotta work for other people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's getting easier and easier, though, to work for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
It's the easiest point in time to work for yourself, be a millionaire, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, especially just being able to work from home.
Yeah. COVID changed that,
it
too.
sure did.
I mean, companies realized, shit, this is easier.
I'm going back to school full time starting next week, actually.
What are you going to school for?
Exercise science.
Okay.
I've been doing personal training for 20 years, so I just want to finish and get a degree in it.
I gotcha. Nice.
So, yeah, that starts next week, but 2 of my classes are online. I'm like, man, I'm not used to doing it online, man.
I'll be honest, I've done online courses both like during COVID and in school. Like
Right.
at alternative school that I went to, there was no teacher there that spoke Spanish. So when it came to earn my, language credit, I did Spanish 2 in an online course. They literally told us use Google Translate. So like we're just sitting there fucking copying, pasting
Really?
everything. Yeah, I didn't learn a fucking lick
Oh
of
man,
Spanish.
really?
Yeah, so and
Oh,
when it came to COVID, personally, like I got done all my assignments because I didn't have to take a Zoom class. Thank God. They
yeah.
uploaded all my assignments. I
That's
do it.
what I have
I
to
do
do.
it in a day and a half, and then spend the rest of the week fucking. But I just, I think the in-person learning is just so
That's
much better.
that's how I roll.
Yeah.
I do better with in person.
So personal training's been one of your careers,
Yeah, I did that for a lot of years.
and that's where you were involved with Soldier Fit, right?
Yeah, yeah. So before Soldier Fit started, it was called DDT Fitness. That
Okay.
was Danny, Dave, and Troy. It was the that's who owns Soldier Fit now. Danny Farrar and Dave Posen.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a boot camp fitness company, military inspired fitness.
Is it
Yeah.
a big veteran-based kind of community, I guess?
Yeah, it's not just veterans though, but there are a lot of veterans that are participants in it.
Okay.
But it's just it's it's a military themed
Right.
organization.
Kind of intensity of the
Yeah,
training.
yeah,
And stuff.
military inspired exercises and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, they were who I worked for. So I was working for them um, when I was doing a little bit of personal training, but not much at all. I was more of the guy that was cleaning the bathrooms and taking care of stuff around the gym and
It's where you got to start a lot of times.
yeah, yeah, and then things my life kind of fell apart, and then I went back into that role like 10 years later, 15 years later. I was back to not really training, just doing that janitorial work kind of thing, and but it was during that time that I was homeless, and they didn't know that I was homeless.
Okay, so this is the gym that you were talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Okay.
And
So,
I worked my way into a general manager's position while I was homeless,
yeah.
and they had no idea that I was homeless.
So, we'll kind of talk about that very briefly shortly. Um, the last thing I wanted to touch on when it came to the military was what habits or traits stuck with you after you left the military?
Oh, definitely making your bed every day. Great book, by the way.
Yeah, no, a lot of people talk about how just that simple step in the morning really sets you up for the kind of day that you're going to have.
Absolutely, and yeah, Admiral McRaven, the author of Make Your Bed, he it's spot on. It's a 2 day read if you want to just kick back and read it one day. It's a great book, but
Okay.
he talks about the significance of you've made that one achievement first thing in the day, and
Yeah.
it's something to build off of from that one achievement. And even if you don't achieve anything else that day, when you come home at the end of the day, it's like, at least my bed was made today,
Yeah.
and I can't leave the house without making my bed. So stuff like that, obviously clean shaven, clean haircut always, and stuff like that. Just posture and all that stuff that you learned in the
Waking up
military.
early.
Yeah, not as much here recently. I'm trying to get more of a normal
That's
schedule,
good, though.
but
That's good.
it used to be 3:30. I'd be up at 3:30.
Damn.
If I had a 24-hour gym, I'd be back on at 3:30 a.m. Wake up with school starting here. I would get it done first thing in the morning.
Wow.
So yeah, getting up early, that's just part of that definitely stuck with me. Like sleeping in to 7 o'clock. So
So were there any other jobs that you wanted to talk about?
I guess the coolest one, and just how I got into it, was because I was in the military and had a clearance in the military. Was I got to cook for the State Department
Okay.
during when I first finished culinary school. That was cool. I cooked for like Madeleine Albright, Secretary of State. I cooked for her probably 100 times.
Wow.
Foreign dignitaries from other countries that would come in, we'd entertain for them. So that was a real cool time in my cooking career.
Was this out of DC?
Yeah, yep. Actually, Silver Spring, a place called Federal City Caterers.
Okay.
Yeah, we did real high-end catering. That was a cool place. So well, I guess you'll talk later maybe about my son, but the knife that I had during that time, I bought during that time, actually 26 years later now, I just gave that knife to my son
Nice.
for him to keep.
Hell yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
So you just mentioned there was a period in your life where you were homeless.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk about the butterfly effect, I guess, in which you led you to that point, because it's been pointed out by several people. There's a lot of kind of loops that you have to go through in order to get to that point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a lot easier than people think, to end up in that situation. So just kind of, talk about what led up to that.
Sure. Yeah, so for me, my life was really good for a good period of time. I was married, my third marriage. We were together for 6 years before we got married. I was a stay-at-home husband. My wife was the bread maker. I was helping raise my daughter at the time. So everything was good until it wasn't. We had a bad falling out, and I ended up moving out of the house, and not having had a job for 3 years. I didn't have any real finances behind me. She kept everything in the divorce and whatnot. But anyhow, so I moved out, and I basically had an argument with one of my roommates one night, and he got physical with me, and I left the very next day, and knowingly I didn't have anywhere to go. I moved my stuff into a storage unit, and I became homeless overnight.
So you were staying in the storage unit?
I slept in my, so I had a car at the time. I would use my storage unit as like, I had a hanging rack of clothes and a little dresser. I kept my clothes in my storage unit. I showered at the gym, and I had a former girlfriend who let me use her office in the evenings after her building was closed. I had a little air mattress, camping air mattress. She would let me sleep on her office floor on nights, not every night, but on the nights I didn't do that, I would sleep in my car. So, yeah, it was a rough time. I did that for almost a year. Yeah.
So you used the gym to your advantage, right? With
Oh,
showering
yeah,
and stuff
absolutely.
like that.
Yep. Working out and showering. Nobody had any idea that I was homeless, because I go in there to clean the gym. I still had keys to the gym to clean
Right.
and stuff. So I go in at 3:30 in the morning when nobody was around, cut my hair and shower and shave and everything, and I'd have everything cleaned up before anybody showed up for work. They wouldn't know any different.
Right. So what other kind of life hacks were you using at the time? Whether it's like how you saved money, or how you were feeding yourself,
Oh,
taking
God.
care of yourself. Just like, what kind of hacks were you using?
So 7-Eleven was like my best friend.
Okay.
I think it was $4 for 2 pieces of pizza and a big gulp.
Nice.
Yeah, it was dirt cheap. I was trying to save every penny I could so I could get moved into another place. But like I said, not having nothing, it was not easy.
Right.
So there would be a lot of times, I wouldn't have food. I might go 2 or 3 days until a payday, and I wouldn't have had any food. That wasn't unheard of for sure. So sometimes I would lean on friends, to help me out, to Venmo me a few dollars so I could get dinner or something like that. That is one thing I will say is I've always been very fortunate to have good people that have been put in my life at certain times that, I can accredit my well-being now to a lot of people that I cross paths with over the years. I was very fortunate to have some good people in my life.
Nice. Another thing I kind of wanted your opinion on. A popular, I guess, trend that I see on TikTok and stuff like that is people who are kind of purposefully living a kind of car/van life.
Yeah.
And also, like, the sort of minimalist house has become
Sure.
a trend for quite a while. As someone who has experienced having to live in a situation like that, does part of you kind of think, like, why would someone choose to do that?
No, not at all. In fact, on the way here, there's a pretty pronounced homeless population here in Westminster.
Yeah, surprisingly. Yeah. No doubt.
They have an encampment, and there's people that are definitely homeless. And I thought, I could sell my car, get rid of my car insurance, my rent payment, and just camp out in a tent for like 6 months, man, and save a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
That kind of lifestyle appeals to me as far as having a minimalist lifestyle and having very few items. I don't really have a lot of possessions still.
Right.
I can fit everything in my vehicle that I need and want to take with me at any time. That's of any importance, really. Um, but yeah, my dream house is on Amazon. I picked it out. It's a little
Okay.
mini house. It's an 800 square foot loft. Yeah, they deliver to you on a flatbed truck.
Would you say your experiences have kind of set your expectations back? You know, was there at one point in your life where you probably wouldn't have thought like that would be your dream house, you
Oh
know?
yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're, doing work for, multi-million dollar homes. I mean, I was a private chef at one point. Our house was 14,000 square feet that I lived in. I mean, it was palatial. I had a friend, his dad's house was 18,000 square feet. I mean, I pictured stuff like that, like, oh, a 12-car garage with 12 different Porsches in it.
Yeah.
But I learned over the years, like, for me, that's not what makes me happy. So,
Yeah.
would that be cool to have? Yeah, of course. But I always say if I won the lottery, I would be on welfare within 5 years because I would probably give most of it away, was how it would work.
So when you did hit that period in your life, what did you learn was important to you, and what did you learn like that you could totally live without, or that you were forced to live without? You know.
Oh, wow. A bed. No, in all seriousness, I mean, what I learned is that definitely need friends. That was a definite lesson there. Yeah, things that you could do without, like having a really nice car, is
Yeah.
no longer important to me. It's just a status symbol for a lot of people, I think.
Absolutely. That's something that I've thought about recently because my car works fantastic. However, there's just like some basic features that are in every car now, like,
Right.
having a fob that you can, unlock the
Sure,
car
sure.
with, or, power windows instead of cranking down everyone. But
Oh,
like at the
right.
end of the day, even if I make a lot of money with this podcast, the amount of money that I would have to spend for a nice car would just, do I need it?
Right, right.
You know? And the minimalist lifestyle is better. You know what I mean? We live in a very consumer based
Yeah, absolutely.
life.
I
I don't know if
say,
that's the Western area or just the whole world nowadays.
I think it is. I mean, look at Amazon. It's worldwide. I mean, I say Amazon's everything that's right with the world and everything that's wrong with the world at the same time, man.
Yeah.
It's, there's no more social interaction like there used to be. And I hate self checkouts at the grocery stores and stuff, man. Like, I crave that personal interaction with other people, like, hey, how's your day going, man? Like,
I seen some crazy video. This is relevant because my dad is a forklift driver and I may or may not become a forklift driver. It was literally like an automated forklift. You know what I mean?
oh,
And I
really?
was like, holy shit. I was like, if our company got these, man, they're like, oh my God. But it's like, at the end of the day, even Ice Cube, the rapper, he said something where it's like AI is like some devil shit. You know what I mean? There's good and bad things to come with automation,
Absolutely.
but I feel like we rely a little bit too much on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like you said, it has messed up a lot of social interactions. A lot of the musicians I have on, we talk about how like with the concert
Uh-oh.
experience,
Oh,
and stuff like that, buying tickets in person hasn't become prevalent. Everybody buys their tickets online and
Right,
stuff like
right.
that.
Yep.
You headed out, Dad?
yeah, I gotta go.
All right.
All right, Richard, have a good one.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, but like, with the music thing, online has ruined a lot of things, and yeah. Um, so what, like I was saying, what kind of loops did you fall through at that point in your life?
How so? What do you mean?
Like how you ended up homeless and stuff like
Well,
that.
definitely substance abuse played a role in my being homeless.
And was that something that, was always a thing?
Yeah, something I struggled with from early childhood. Yeah. Introduced to cocaine at a very young age. I was definitely on and off over my period of my lifetime.
And was that at the period where it was kind of more of a new thing, I guess? I mean, it's always been around, but I mean, like, there
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, back when I was doing them, that was back in the late '80s.
Right, yeah.
During the Len Bias era of crack and all that stuff. Man, it was terrible back in those days.
So, like, what can you suggest to people that are maybe close to that situation or in that situation that can help them get out of it?
Well, I mean, definitely if you're, I mean, I can speak as a veteran. If you're a veteran, there are a ton of veteran services out there that you just need to reach out and ask for help.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Is a lot of homeless are veterans,
Hmm.
and I was gonna bring that up earlier with the military talk. You know, do you think there's any particular reasons why there's such a common occurrence?
I think because substance abuse goes hand in hand with homelessness,
Right.
and mental illness goes hand in hand with homelessness as well. Um, I mean, I've experienced both and I've seen both. My brother was mentally ill, he was homeless. Sometimes we criminalize those people that are homeless because we
Yeah.
don't have anywhere really for them to get the help they need. There's no more state institutions like there used to be or anything like that.
Yeah.
But for veterans, there's a vast amount of organizations out there that are willing to help. Um, I think the fear that a lot of veterans have is that if they are on disability, like VA disability, that they're worried to reach out for help because they might lose some of their benefits or something like that.
And is that not the case?
No, most definitely not. Yeah.
I gotcha. So that was really all I had on that topic. I mean, is there anything else that you think needs to be said on that?
No, just if you never know when you reach out for help who's going to be on the other end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people have struggled in the past, and you don't know who you're going to be talking to that has had that same experience, and it can be humiliating to admit those things to somebody, but it's also very humbling at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you told me that, that's exactly kind of why I wanted to get you on because it touched me in a good way. You know what I
Appreciate
mean?
that,
And
John.
that's
Thank
why I
you.
wanted to get you on because I think when people listen to this, they'll definitely kind of get something out of it.
Right on, man. Appreciate that.
So you were a photographer at one point for a cannabis company, right?
Yeah, so I did it independently. I
Okay.
did independent photography for cannabis, for marijuana clinics here in Maryland. Did macro photography, doing close-up photography of different strains of marijuana. Then I would post them and rate them and describe them and all that. That was when I first got my medical marijuana card.
And when was this?
So that would have been, oh my, 8, 9 years ago. Yeah.
So this wasn't definitely not a common, trade at the time.
No, 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 definitely not. And it was just the way I stumbled upon it was I got my medical card and I had bought a camera to do photography of my paintings that I do, and I fell in love with doing photography.
Right.
So it kind of just happened all at once.
I gotcha. So I follow this Instagram page called the Blacklist XYZ. It's kind of like think about like a Reddit for the weed market
Oh,
almost.
right. Okay.
So they've talked about how with dispensaries and legalization, how bud quality as far as potency is kind of I guess gone down with all sorts of limits and stuff like that. Would you say that the quality has gone down at all from 8 years ago?
Oh my, I would say just the opposite.
Okay.
My experience would be that it's gotten better. It's been more refined. It's you can buy more specific strains to what you want as far as for whatever medicinal use you're looking for.
Okay.
I find that it's been fine tuned a lot more over the years.
Yeah, a problem I'm reading about right now is how synthetic marijuana, whether it's I guess salvia or even like certain delta eights and stuff like
Right.
that are contaminated or whatever, like it's causing certain like medical situations
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's getting brought into the marijuana discussion, which isn't really fair because it's synthetic marijuana.
Sure.
So it's a huge problem right now, and apparently they're trying to change a lot of potency laws and make
Oh, is that right?
yeah, especially for like extracts and stuff like that, they want to make them a lot less potent.
Really?
Things like that. I guess it might just be like talk amongst the underground,
Right,
but
right.
I mean it certainly is a real possibility.
I know in
because-
Virginia it's illegal. Concentrate is a felony in
Wow.
Virginia.
Yeah, and I know they treat it I think they treat it differently as far as the weight and stuff like
Yeah,
that too.
yeah, they
Like if you
do.
get charged and whatnot.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, there's certainly still like a lot wrong.
It's
And-
the same law, like if you get caught with crack compared to powdered cocaine, it's a different punishment. Even though it's cocaine, it's it's looked at differently.
Did they ever expunge that like whole life thing where?
I think they did actually, yeah, because like life sentence over a certain amount that you would get,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I don't think any of the people that got life sentences were let out. You
Oh, is
know,
that right?
I could be wrong, but I'm
Right,
pretty
right.
sure most of them are probably still
Still
serving
in,
their
yeah.
sentence.
My God, I can't imagine. Oof.
So, how long did you do the photography thing?
Did that for a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, was that beneficial to you at all? Like, you were getting stuff to test out and things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. So there were some, I would get strains to test out for them, and it was just fun. You know what I mean? I was just, like I said, I was a stay-at-home husband, so it gave me something to do. When you're up at 3:30 in the morning and everybody else is in bed, it was like the optimum time for me to do that kind of work.
Yeah. Now, at any point, did it become kind of like in your head, like, I'm just getting so baked right now that I can't even really give like a legit consents review? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, especially early in the mornings.
Yeah.
That first one in the
I
morning.
feel like any person that doesn't smoke or if a person that does smoke all the time,
Right.
you're giving them a bunch of buds to review, they're probably gonna have a very similar consensus on
Right,
most of
right.
them.
It's similar like that with cigars when we have
Yeah.
to test cigars.
And bourbon and
Yeah,
wine and stuff like
yep.
that. Like some people, they drink bourbon and they give it a smell and they're like, I get notes of cherry and oak, and
Right.
I'm like, I taste bourbon.
Right,
You
right.
know?
I'm the same way.
I don't
but
have a refined palate at all.
I think my palate's probably compared to cigars for marijuana is probably mostly refined for that. Than
Okay.
it is anything, yeah.
Is there anything that you have to specifically do to like get the palate for that, or is it just kind of practice and
I think it's
intention?
just practice and reading up on different flavor profiles that are created, different terpenes. I definitely look at terpene profile. I know a lot of people when they look at buying medical stuff, they look strictly at what's the THC content.
Yeah, no.
Like, is it high testing? You know, I
Yeah.
don't look at that. I look at what's the terpene content because to me, something that has 3% terpene in it is not nearly as good as something that has 18% terpene.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I go for the flavor, is what I look for.
Yeah, like I told you, my cousin who is in the business and whatnot, working
Right.
at different dispensaries, she was kind of educating me on the terpenes and stuff like that, as
Yeah.
well as a lot of bud tenders will do that if you have
Yeah,
a medical
yeah.
card, and it is super interesting, especially when you're into the extracts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you get the cartridges, that's when you really get the super high terpenes and
Yep.
stuff like that. And it is super interesting when you start to learn, like, oh, the THC isn't really the
The
main
determining factor, yeah.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on it being legal?
So I'm pretty much got no issues with it. However, I'm gonna be like, I gotta stock up before these, laws get put in place, because you know how crowded it's gonna be in Westminster.
Right.
There's 2 dispensaries, and I thought I heard a rumor that like Verilife was
They're
moving.
moving.
Yeah, so like if we don't get any new dispensaries, one
One.
dispensary in the entire area is gonna be so crazy. The foot traffic in that dispensary is already off the
It's
charts.
crazy, I know.
I forgot how much money that place makes a day, but it's
It's a
insane.
grip. It's all cash, too.
Yeah, and so when recreational happens, the boom's just gonna be outrageous. So like, I'm gonna have to buy like at least an ounce, several.
I wish it would have just stayed medical, personally.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, it's the same as alcohol. People are gonna say, "What are you drinking so you don't feel depressed?" You know, like I have a medical reason that I use my marijuana.
Right. A lot of places do give benefits to medical patients where like they'll keep certain quality buds, like the higher THC, the higher terps and
Oh,
stuff.
really?
Yeah, so like out in Colorado, for example, I was looking at a dispensary website to see what products they had, and I was like looking at specific strains. It's like, oh, that sounds awesome based on the profile, but it said medical patients only for Colorado. Certain
wow.
states have different laws, so like
Okay.
I went to Las Vegas right before then, and I could take my Maryland card and buy weed in Vegas,
Oh,
and they
okay.
gave me a discount for being a medical patient.
No kidding.
So yeah, some places will,
That's cool.
adhere to the medical patients.
That's right on.
So I think we'll just have to see what happens, But I'm just concerned about how crowded it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It's like the Raising Cane's that they're,
Oh,
whenever they build
yeah.
a new fast food chain, it's like
Yep,
there's
yep.
lines around the block for like the first month.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, just gonna have to buy a bunch and wait out the crowds.
Smart.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the newspaper job you had because a lot of famous people, especially a lot of comedians, have had newspaper jobs.
Oh,
Like,
is that right?
yeah, Joe Rogan had a
Did he
newspaper
really?
job. Yeah, a lot of comedians. You would be
No
surprised.
kidding.
So, what was that like for you? Was that fun at all?
It was interesting in that I was going to college at the time, so it allowed me to work at night, so I could go to school during the day.
Okay.
Um, and you meet a lot of interesting people.
Yeah, I bet.
A lot of my coworkers and other people there at the. I worked for the Washington Post.
Okay.
For a subcontractor for the Washington Post, I would go and pick up the bulk, big bundles of newspapers, and
Yep.
then deliver them to the people that would then deliver them to individual homes. That job was a trip, man. Met a lot of weird people at 3 a.m.
Oh man.
It's a whole different life. It's like time stops, and
Yeah,
you're
that's
in a
true.
different world for some reason. It's hard to explain unless you've actually worked a night shift ever.
Yeah.
Like going into work at 10 and 11 o'clock at night is a weird thing.
Yeah. It's funny because I work in a warehouse and our third shift and the first shift, I feel like no matter what, the opening and closing people always have beef. But like at the same time, I always kind of want to know what it's like to work on the third shift. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's really strange.
Yeah, I think your social life probably gets thrown off quite a bit because
Oh yeah,
you're tired during the day, you're out when everyone else, I
Yep.
mean, you're working when everyone else is out having fun.
Yep.
Yeah, and it throws off your like circadian rhythm too, so
Oh, yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
unhealthy and whatnot.
Yeah, I had to do that while I was going to school. That was the only way I was able to pull off both.
Yeah, well, it's if you're gonna do something like that, it's best to do it when you're younger and
Yeah.
whatnot, because like being like, I guess close to the half point in your life working midnight shift at a warehouse has got to be terrible for your health.
Oh yeah. My dad worked nights all his whole life. Always, he was going to work at 9:30 at night. He'd leave to go to work. Yeah.
And would you say you saw like negative effects of that?
Oh yeah, just he'd be tired and just not healthy, and it's
Working too much in general, no matter what shift you have, is just bad for the mental
Yeah.
health.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to not let money dictate, how I spend my time, because like, it's hard not to take the overtime and stuff, but like, I need free time.
Sure.
And I feel like you got to build that habit as young as you can. It's like, I don't know. It's a weird thing being like a young adult because you got all these expectations, but at the same time, like, there's not many realistic things for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everyone wants to be like wealthy and successful, but they don't realize how long it takes.
It does take time.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk about working at Davida's Cigar Shop, which is how we met.
Yeah.
So you said you got into cigars back in your service. You
Yep.
smoked a big ass Cuban.
Yeah.
So when was it at that time that you started to smoke cigars regularly and they became a part of your life?
Yeah. So I started smoking regularly in my early 20s in the Army. Smoked regularly for probably 10 years or so, and then the cigar rave really kicked off, and the Fuente that I was buying for $6.50 was now $16.50. So I really tapered off and got away from cigars for years.
Yeah.
And then just recently, in the past few years, started getting back into them again.
And so when you found this employment opportunity, were you a little excited? Like, this is something that I can do that is, a lot more enjoyable?
Yeah, because it's, I'm semi-retired, but I'm back in school now full time, like I said. So
Yeah.
for me, it's being able to work part time in that environment. It's perfect, hanging out. I get paid to smoke cigars. Talk
Yeah,
to
I have
people.
this question. Like, how often would you say, like, you actually feel like you're at a job? You know what I mean? Because I know there's work involved. People
Yeah,
don't understand. Like,
yeah.
cigars take a lot of proper care
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But, yeah, you do get to hang out. You get to smoke
Yeah.
cigars, so.
Yeah, on a 4 hour shift, I'm working 3 of those 4 hours probably.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm just not one to sit down very often. You'll probably see I'm up and moving and
Yeah.
emptying ashtrays and wiping this off or doing that. So.
Would you say, even compared to other jobs, it's a lot better?
Oh, it's super chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, every now and then I even consider like, you know,
You should consider it as a part-time gig. You know, fast. You have a very good knowledge of cigars. You'd be good at it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I just know like it's definitely a lot more enjoyable than what I do now.
Right,
You
right,
know what I
right.
mean? So, at some point if this becomes like a much more
It just
lucrative thing for me, then I probably would consider that,
Yeah,
just as something to
the
keep
pay
my
isn't very good. That's the only thing.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like unfortunately a lot of jobs when it comes to something that people actually want to do
Right.
tends not to pay the best, at
That
least
is
at first.
that is
You know
true.
what I mean?
The hard part I found is it's not paying them to work there, meaning that I don't run up too big of a tab on cigars. Because
Yeah.
when you're there, you want to smoke cigars,
Absolutely.
and that adds up pretty quick.
Yeah. So what were some other like early memorable cigar experiences that you had?
Oh wow, definitely. Just smoking with my army buddies. Those moments. I had a. Well, I always say that with cigars, it's the memory that's created with those cigars that you're trying to recreate. Usually,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's not just that flavor of the cigar. It's the experience that came with that cigar.
Yeah, do you
Uh,
find that like when you try to replicate that experience with a specific cigar, it's just never like that
it
first
never
time?
happens. It never happens. You've never
Yeah.
been able to do it.
The first ever nice cigar I smoked was at Davidoff. It was a Davidoff Winston Churchill, the
Okay.
late hour.
Late hour, yeah.
It was a Churchill size.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had like smoked maybe one cigar before that, right? And I just remember it being such an experience for me because for people who don't know, Davidoff is one of the finest cigars that you
Right.
can buy. So smoking this thing was just like the flavors and the experience I had at the time was so great. And we bought a box of them. I'm getting down to the last couple, and it's just like it's just not even really special for me anymore. So
Right.
it was interesting that you said that because like yeah, it like the first time that you have a special experience with a certain cigar, it's amazing, and it's like you said, you want to replicate it, but
Yeah.
you know, you almost like you only have one true experience with a specific
It
cigar.
eludes you after that first time, always.
Yeah. So I guess how many are you a daily cigar smoker?
Yeah, I smoke. If so, especially when I'm at work, I'll smoke
Yeah.
constantly while I'm there. On an 8-hour shift, I'll smoke
Now,
5.
from what I understand, if you do work for Davidoff, you get a free Castro Brothers cigar on your
Yeah.
shift.
Yep.
So
Yep. You sure do. Every 4 hours. So say on an 6-hour day, I get 2 free cigars.
that's even better. Holy
So,
shit.
Yeah, I can't complain.
'Cause, with the emails and just looking at the website, I was reading about the employment stuff. I was like, yo, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
The Castro Brothers, they're not the best thing in the store, but they're good.
I like their Hobson Choice Maduro is really a
Yeah.
good stick. Their Lord Calvert is actually made by Davidoff for
Yeah.
us. It's a good stick too.
What are some of your favorite brands and particular cigars you like right now?
So I'm big Rocky. I do like Rocky Patel.
Yep.
We are Rocky Patel Lounge. The Disciple is one of my favorite cigars. I think it's a solid smoke. Obviously Padron. I'm a big Padron fan. Can't go wrong with a good Padron. So I would say out of those two, but Partagas has always been a go-to for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't carry too many of the
Yeah.
Partaguses. I've had the Barber Pole that they have in there,
Oh,
and
right.
it's really good. But I've heard of like the Partagas Black and other cigars. I want to try a lot of Cuban cigars, but unfortunately, the laws here are all
Right,
messed
right.
up and stuff like that.
Yeah, go visit Cuba.
Yeah, I don't know how well the market in Canada is, but I was thinking like that might be one of the closest places
Yeah,
that
you
you can
can.
go buy
Yep,
Cuban
yep.
cigars. I just don't know about how easy bringing them back is.
Yeah, a lot of people take off the rings and mail them back,
Oh, that's kind
and
of
then
smart.
just relabel it when you get them back. Put the rings back on.
Okay.
Yep.
So one of the last things to talk about. So you're into art. It's one of the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
It's acrylic pouring. So for the
Yeah.
people who don't know what acrylic pouring is, just describe what that is.
So acrylic pouring is where you take a median, a viscous median. I use 3 parts of a certain substance, and then I use another part of actually Elmer's glue, and mix that together. And you can put certain additives like oils into it, but then you add different colors to different mixtures, and then you pour them onto a canvas, And you can tilt the canvas into certain ways. You can use like a heat gun to create certain effects. You can drag things through the paint. So it's not just mindless pouring. There are certain techniques that you can use
Okay.
to create these effects. But the ones that I like to do, I do beach scenes that are pretty cool, where I do really cool marbling. It looks like a piece of slab of a marble slab or wood. Has a real wood effect on it. So yeah, I officially just became an artist about, I guess, about 4 months ago. I sold my first pieces of artwork. So first
Nice.
time.
Um, I'm gonna